Question for you. How would you feel if I invited you to be on my documentary? But I invite you using a fake name. I've made up a fictional organization. I lie to you about the premise of the film. I lie to you about who's producing it. I don't tell you that I plan to use the film to mock you, that it will incite harassment and death threats against you. Let's talk about What is a Woman, a documentary produced by Matt Walsh and his team at the Daily Wire. What is a Woman? To be honest, it's just a movie version of the things you usually see on Daily Wire's website. It's just a lot of gender ideology movement and misgendering. That's all just table stakes with these people, so let's just leave that aside. What you do need to know about this movie is that the Daily Wire and its employees created this elaborate ruse of fake names and fake organizations to trick people into being in the film. We're not talking like, oh, they exaggerated or lied by omission. No, they fully made shit up.
That was Nandini Jami, who is an ad tech watchdog, revealing the deceptive tactics that Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire used to dupe people into participating in their transphobic documentary, What is a Woman? Now, she gives her own personal account of a college professor that she knew who was duped into participating in an interview for a completely different film that was pitched to him before knowing the direction it was going.
I know this because my college professor contacted me recently to let me know he's in the film without his consent. Sure, he agreed to be in a film, but not this one. He shared the emails with me and now I'm making them public for the first time. Let's look at a Daily Wire interview request. My professor didn't hear from the Daily Wire. He heard from a woman named Rebecca Dobkovitz. She contacted him about an independent documentary about transgender and LGBTQ communities. When she asked for a funding source, she said they're being funded by a benevolent source that would like to remain anonymous. The professor says that when he arrived to do the interview, they hid Matt Walsh from him until the interview started. That way they could still capture some footage just in case he recognized Matt. The key thing here is that my professor revoked consent in writing once he found out what this film was really about, but they just ignored his emails.
Now, this case goes all the way back to when they were first recruiting people to interview for the film under false pretenses by using a fake LLC. Many of you might remember Ellie Ehrlich, who's a writer and co-founder of the organization Trans Students Educational Resources, who talked about how they tried to dupe her into participating in this documentary. She tweeted this out. So Matt Walsh's crew is trying to trick trans people into joining a fake documentary. His producers set up a whole front organization and tried to recruit me into his new anti-trans documentary, and then links to them discussing the full story. And Jami also spoke about Ellie's case as well.
All of this, by the way, squares with what a trans activist named Ellie Ehrlich shared with the public last year. Last February, Eli said that she was contacted by someone named McKenna Lynn from the Gender Unity Project. McKenna represented herself as a curious and well-heeled grad student who was self-funding her own documentary about the LGBT community. But Eli did some digging and learned that McKenna Lynn was really McKenna Waters, a producer for Matt Walsh. She also learned that they didn't just make a website for their fake organization, they actually registered it as a real LLC. That LLC is registered to Justin Folk, the director of What is a Woman. Daily Wire hasn't shut up about this documentary since they launched it last year. But this?
I mean, Jeff, this sounds like fraud to me. What does it sound like to you?
I mean, this is gross. Among the many things that bothers me about this is that if the Daily Wire or Matt Walsh were presented with these facts, they're not going to care that they duped people in order to talk to them. Because realistically, they'll probably say something like, oh, well, we had to dupe them because we at the Daily Wire, they wouldn't want to talk to us because they know we're about truth and facts and virtue and everything. So they're not going to give a crap. But hopefully this will be a cautionary tale for people who get these emails or anything like that, to say that think twice about talking to these people. They're just gonna be used as pawns in a situation to be anti-trans.
Yeah, and it would really suck to be a supporter of trans rights and then end up in this documentary under these false pretenses and make it seem like you don't support trans rights or you're even willing to have a discussion with Christo-fascists like Matt Walsh.